Everybody coming here, taking time out of your schedules, and I really appreciate our counterparts with the workforce development and continuing education here at Wake Tech. My name's Todd Lyden. I'm with the Small Business Center of the Small Business Center side of the Entrepreneurship and Small Business Center. Um, Let me tell you a little bit about us. We titled this Resources for the Self-Employed. And as you'll see, as a separate part of Wake Tech, we offer a wide variety of things that are designed to help people as they either start or grow a business in a wide variety of ways. First, let me introduce you to the team there. You can see myself there. My name's Todd Lyden, as I mentioned. I've been with Wake Tech for just over a year and a half, but I come to it from another community college. So I've been doing this exact same type of work for a little over 12 years now. So I know entrepreneurship and small business resources all throughout North Carolina. Chris Weeks, who is our director for the entrepreneurship side, is hoping to join us. He's actually busy tonight. He's teaching a class, and he said he's going to try and jump on board at about the halfway part in about 6:40 if he can. So hopefully he can get here to talk more about their programs. But he's been with Wake for just a little bit longer. He came on board about a year and a half before I did. And then the other faces you see there, Dave Geikler is our community person who works with Chris directly on their entrepreneurship programming, and that's going to be the back half of what we'll talk about. And then the last person is Lori Wright. She is our business specialist, and she's basically what I sometimes jokingly say the hamster on the wheel who helps us get everything done on the back end, on the back side of everything. And I want to make sure if you have questions as we go, please feel free to ask. I realize you're probably not going to have a lot of questions, but these are the folks you'll deal with directly. We are all at our Cary Wake campus, Western Wake as we call it. We do offer programming at the other sites. So wherever you're coming from, we do service all of Wake County, but we are at the Western Wake campus. The whole goal of the Entrepreneurship and Small Business Center is to help people start and grow businesses, as I mentioned. And the Small Business Center is actually a separate state-funded program, and I'll get a little more detail on it. But basically, all of our services are free and funded by tax dollars. And have been for 40 years. As you saw, we have a new logo that indicates we've been in existence for 40 years. The history is essentially this. Um, in 40 years ago, the SBA started a program to fund what are SBDC, Small Business Development Centers, in almost every other state. In North Carolina, we have them at our universities called SBTDCs. And to meet the demand outside of the service areas of the universities, they piloted several community colleges throughout the state. And because all the community colleges, all 58 schools, are designed to be within 30 to 40 minutes of anybody within North Carolina, it was very successful and, of course, expanded throughout the state. So we are at all the community colleges throughout the state as the Small Business Center Network, as what we're formally called. But each one has a small business center. And as I mentioned, I came from a much smaller one to Wake, was very happy to do so because as a program, we're specifically built to help, especially people who are looking to start businesses. So ideally, if you have an idea, if you're thinking about doing something, no matter what your goal at Wake Tech is, whether perhaps you're thinking of doing accounting, perhaps you're a welder, cosmetology, many of the different skills and trades that you will learn at Wake Tech, and even if you're going on to a 4-year program eventually, you may be working in something that is, of course, very easily a self-employed and ultimately create your own business kind of opportunity. And we're here to assist with that. As I mentioned, we're just one of the 58, and the primary ways in which we help are no-cost seminars and webinars and one-on-one counseling. And I had a really good example of that today. This is the map of where all the small business centers are, which are essentially where all the community colleges are throughout the state. We get requests in every day for counseling, and we had one today. We've had two today, actually. It was surprising. We had one who wants to start a business in Alamance County, um, but lives here in Raleigh. And then we had one who was actually putting in a request from outside of the county. And so the best part is I work with my counterparts throughout the state to help them get to the right resources. Because as you can imagine, even within Wake County itself, depending on where you're going to start your business, could change a wide variety of factors. So, for example, I often tell folks that Raleigh has a lot of great programs designed specifically to help businesses expand through some small types of grants. But then other smaller towns, depending on what type of programming they have and what type of funding they're offering, do have other opportunities. So it's one of those things that is very specific to where you're looking at starting. So knowing where you're going to start, even if it's not going to be in Raleigh or Wake County, we can help connect you with the right folks. And for example, if you're looking at doing something that's going to just be an online business where you're going to be headquartered here, and ideally, that would be the goal, is to be a business that starts in North Carolina. And um, even if you are, um, did I see that correctly, Nicole? It looked like the language changed. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Um, hang on. Michael, does everybody hear me okay? I saw a thing that said the language had changed. Okay, thanks.
I can hear you good.
Yeah, and in English.
Thanks. Um, so if you're trying to, as long as even if it's just an e-commerce business, as long as you're headquartered in North Carolina, we can help you, even if you only intend to do business online. Um, so it's something that we do get from requests for that, but we try to make sure that we're helping folks that are either living or headquartered within North Carolina. Because as you can imagine as well, we get a lot of folks coming from outside of the state looking to come in and start a business here, and we want to make sure that we're working with our primary residents first and foremost. So, as I mentioned, one of the primary things that we do is free one-on-one counseling. That is probably one of the better things. Now, we're not the only ones that offer this service. You might be familiar with what used to be called the Senior Corps of Retired Entrepreneurs, SCORE. There's a chapter in our area that offers free one-on-one counseling. As I mentioned, the SBTDC does free one-on-one counseling as well. There's a lot of other great resources, not just us, that offer this counseling. We try to do some in person. We do have a small group of part-time counselors that are virtual, so that addresses you don't have to drive to us to come to Cary. Um, so if you do want to have counseling, we can accommodate either way. And in many cases, I find that once we've got our counselors hooked up or we're working with clients directly, we can address a lot of questions over the phone or oftentimes through email, which tends to be the quickest and easiest way for us. So that is one of the best things we can do. Now, we don't do, to be very clear, we don't do active, um, what you want to think of as behind the scenes work. I don't have any CPAs or accountants, so we can't do tax work. And even if we could, I can't offer that because we would quite honestly be working 24/7 on people's taxes, things like that. We're here for guidance to help you find the right resources, to point you in the right direction, to answer questions. Somebody very astutely pointed out we're kind of like a business tutor, if you will. We're here to assist you as you go and help you learn where you need to go and learn what you need to do. And then, in terms of finding the resources or finding people who can provide you some of that more direct assistance, we're kind of like a concierge. I liked that description too. Somebody said you're kind of like a concierge where you're pointing out where the right things are, finding the resources, and knowing where everything is. And that's what we can kind of do in the one-on-one counseling as well, because very often the most common questions are just simple um, how to file an EIN, how to file an LLC, um, where do you need to make sure to pay your taxes, those types of things. And most of that we can do simply in one-on-one counseling, but we also do most of that in our workshops. We have a lot of events and workshops, and one of the best parts about again, being part of that network, and since COVID, most of our workshops and seminars and now webinars really are done this way. So you have an opportunity if you want to hop online. And again, I have a really good example from today. In fact, I had not a client, but actually just somebody who's gone through our programs and done some of our events in the past, asked a question and said they were looking for some assistance in learning some particular skills for they were as they were trying to expand their business, and said, where can I attend either at Wake Tech or other places where there are opportunities to learn some of the skills that they were looking for. And we were able to go in and show them some of the things that were being offered at Wake Tech, but also across that network. I showed you that map of other schools offering webinars at different times and places that, again, you can also sign up for at no cost. Keep reminding you, it says we like to use the word free. We also say no cost. So that training includes things like how to start a business, writing a business plan, how to do marketing, and we have a lot of great stuff coming up in the near future. In fact, regret that we didn't make sure that we had our system or our our website in this presentation, but I'll put it in the chat here real quick. And the main website for all of that, and you'll find a pretty prominent tab right there for training, is www.ncsbc.net. North Carolina Small Business Center.net. So you can find not just ours, but all 58 events going on at all times, and if topics, not just including how to start, as you see here, but also very specialized topics. The ones that um, the the client was asking for today were on how to do QuickBooks and how to do some accounting software, those types of things, and a couple others that others were offering throughout the state at different points in time. And so oftentimes they're during the day or sometimes they're in the evening, so they can be offered at a variety of different ways. And we're doing the same types of things where we're trying to make sure we're offering a variety of webinars, seminars, both in person and virtually, so that we're addressing what everybody needs in the area. So just for a couple of examples, hope you can read these, but I'll go over a couple of these real quick. And that's the other thing. You can find us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook. We're not allowed to be on TikTok, of course. But you go to the most of the other main platforms and you can find listings for all the events we have coming up. And so a couple that we have coming up here in the immediate future, and one there from this last month in September. Most useful AI tools for starting a business today. That was a fun webinar. A lot of folks like that one. We've got a live event there. You can see separating your business and personal finances. Sorry, it's a little tough to read with the scale there, but that one's coming up in November. That's a live event. And then we're targeting coaches and consultants, as you can see with those two there. One, and we've been doing this each month as well, trying to make sure we're providing access to a CPA or an accountant through webinars and seminars. And so we have you can see the tax hacks for coaches and consultants. That'll be a webinar in November, as well as the legal liability for coaches and consultants. That'll also be a webinar in in November. And then we were supposed to have a webinar tomorrow, and I didn't get a chance to change this. We just learned that our presenter is not going to be able to do this Google Tools. We're rescheduling that one for November. But so we have a wide variety of different topics based on what people need, what people's interests are, based on their business needs. So we're trying to make sure over time that we're really working to make sure that folks get what they need from us, and so that they're having access to all of these different resources. So, a lot of information real quick. Questions? So for the training, you'll find the links there on that ncsbc.net site. That's the best place to go to. That's where you'll find not just ours, but all the other ones. And then, and I think we have it towards the end of the presentation, but I'll put our main one at Wake Tech as well, which is just simply, well, where you'll find all this information as well. Any other questions? Good question. Is there anybody that's currently self-employed or doing skilled training that is
Sorry,
designed to help them start a business?
I have a question. My name is Hayriye, and what is the context of the workshops for the first time when we apply for your free training? I mean, I want to learn what we are going to have as a workshop, the context.
It just depends. They're usually pretty self-explanatory. So, for example, um, for the finance, they talk about the different options for financing a business. We do a lot of tax prep. I'm sorry.
Is there a kind of a flow chart or a leaflet that we can see the workshops documentation?
It's all on the website. That's the best place to go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the websites are the best. Brianna says Teespring. Yeah, there's some that we're trying to do some more e-commerce. We're having trouble finding some good experts for that in the area, but we are trying to do more. There are some that talk about how to market and do sales online. And some of the generic ones, if you go and, oh, you know what? Let me take a second while I think I could do this here real quick. I wasn't going to do this, but I don't see why not, right? Let's show you the website real quick. Hang on. Give me 1 second and I will get you. All right. So here is the network website that I mentioned, ncsbc.net. And if you go right to the training, and you can search based on topic, but let's say we want to do anything that's online so that you can access it any place and time. Here are the different topics you can see. So for example, Brianna's looking for marketing and sales. And the other thing, just so you know, for right now, we do have some offerings in English and Spanish, where I think they're working on some others, but for the time being, they do have some Spanish. So if you go down, you can search and see, for example, social media strategies, doubling your sales. And again, these are online. You can see the dates. And then if you want to learn more about it, let's say marketing small business gives you a small tells you what you're gonna talk about, and then you can register directly online. Now, at this point, you're registering with my counterpart at Cape Fear, an excellent school as well. But that's at 10 o'clock in the morning, so that may not be convenient for you. So if we went back and scroll down, like I said, we've got stuff all the time. So you can take a look and then, but let's say, for example, you want to start with just how to start. There's startup assistance, do a quick search. And there's a lot of business plan ones. Doing financials. Some of these could be probably labeled a little better, including legal structures. That's a good one to have. So there's a lot of great topics. You can see the one on copyrights, patents, and trademarks. Legal topics are always very popular. So these are all, doesn't cost you anything. If there's one you're looking for and you're having trouble finding it, because unfortunately this is an antiquated, we have a very old website set up many years ago. But if you're looking for something, and so you can see broadly, you can look at the different topics, or you can look, so for example, at Wake Tech, everything we're offering right now. There we go. Not doing any of that stuff. Oh, there we go. So you can change everything. So the ones I've mentioned, the tax hacks, we're doing two, one in Spanish and one in English for separating your business and personal finances, a good starting one. Doing a marketing plan. So we don't have anything past November scheduled yet, so we're still working on it. And then another one that's very broad, that we partnered with NCDOR and the IRS, are the sales ones done under a separate link here, which I wish they'd had separated better, but it has all the different tax ones, including basics, withholding, sales taxes, and then online seller would be a good one if you are doing some e-commerce. So a lot of great topics, no matter what it is you're looking for, right? So any other questions about there? I think we got all those. Sorry, I missed the questions. Excel, Hugo, sorry, sometime, no, that's more of a, probably you're going to see more on, every once in a while you might find someone offering it, but it's not very frequent. That's probably a better one to go to the workforce continuing ed to see if they're offering a regular program, because it's not something we tend to get a lot of requests for. We did just have, actually our CPA just did an Excel one, and we didn't get a lot of people signed up for it. So we didn't end up, it was kind of unfortunate. But we got a lot of other options, so take advantage of every chance. And again, none of this costs you anything, no matter what class you're taking. We tend to think of you as the customer, and it doesn't matter whether you're a student or not, even. Anything online? The difference between us and SCORE are volunteers that are organized through the SBA and have to do training with the SBA. And we'll say one of the fundamental differences now is you can go onto their site and connect with a counselor from anywhere in the country, literally. So one of the best things they've got going for them is that you can connect with someone who's got a specialty. So for Brianna, you may want to go on to SCORE actually and see if you can find an expert who does e-commerce, and they might be in Minnesota or New York. It doesn't really matter. They'll work with you virtually. So, but that's what we're here for. And what I always tell folks is it never hurts to go to multiple people doing whatever type of counseling they're doing to help you out. So, good question. That's a great question. So, any other questions about the educational side? Any questions about the counseling side? Um, Perry, business administration degree is necessary. Business administration generally is for someone who is probably going to work for someone else. It's not necessarily the worst thing for someone looking to start a business, but they're designed for someone who's going to be working usually within a business, unless you're specifically making sure. And there are tracks at Wake and all the community colleges for entrepreneurship and starting a business, but most of the classes are designed for working within a business for someone else. And then you ask, are any of these classes help for grant writing? Yes, if you go back, that's one of the other things that differentiates us between all of the other providers that we've talked about, is that we do work with nonprofits. Um, so there's almost always a grant writing. If you go in there, there's specifically a nonprofit topic under there, and you will find there's almost always a grant writing class. Now, I will say that they're generally geared towards nonprofits, not grant writing for small business. Um, it used to stand for Senior Corps of Retired Entrepreneurs. That was many, many years ago because it was generally older retirees, Senior Corps of Retired Entrepreneurs. They don't do that anymore. Most of them are still working, still out and about. Some of them are retired, not all of them are. Um, what's the best way for a newcomer to settle a first business plan and research for funding on? Um, we are getting a lot of folks. In fact, we're working pretty closely with um, you. In the primary one, we've been getting quite a lot of our Ukrainians. Of course, a lot of folks displaced, and we're working with Ukrainians of the Carolinas to find some resources in that area to help, especially for that. Um, and so we can help, and there is um we're we're reaching out and all that, but we don't make a delineation. We work with anybody no matter what. I will say that, as you saw, we are trying to do more Spanish, um because we do get a lot more requests for Spanish assistance. So we are running classes in Spanish, and we work with many of the other resource providers in the area that are primarily targeting people who speak Spanish. So, right, we can point you in the right direction for where to go. We don't have anybody who does the specifics on the legal. Again, we don't have CPAs, nor do we have attorneys. We can point you in the right direction for them. In fact, we just did a webinar back in the summer on the Patent and Trademark Center at North Carolina State University, because most people don't realize they're one of the few that works with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office as a resource center there. Thanks, Monica. Thanks. And I always forget to remind people of that when they're looking, if they don't see the class being offered, to make sure that they put in that notification so that they know people are interested in a particular class. So awesome. All right. Got a couple more minutes before Chris shows, so I don't want to like jump on his stuff, but I'm going to start a little bit so you can I'm going to introduce a little bit of his conceptual stuff so that you have an idea. If there's no other questions, but I'm more than happy to answer any other questions as we go. So if you've got them, don't hesitate to put them in. Um, but Chris Weeks handles what has largely been called the Launch Wake County program. And it is the entrepreneurship side of the Entrepreneurship and Small Business Center. It's what they consider community-based economic development with a primary focus on providing a cohort-based 10-week class for people who want to start and grow businesses within their community. So you can see here, right now, the participating towns listed are the ones you see there, including Apex, Cary, Fuquay, Varina, Garner, Knightdale, Raleigh, Rolesville, Wake Forest, Wendell, Zebulon. Most of the ones, if you are in the eastern part of the county, Zebulon, Wendell, Wake Forest, Rolesville, those do not have a separate organization working with them right now, but they are offering a class at our new Wendell East Campus for those folks that are out there. In fact, that one's happening right now. Cary, no, I'm always trying to remember. Apex, Fuquay Varina, Raleigh are happening right now. And then if you are in Knightdale, Garner, Knightdale, Garner, trying to remember. Morrisville doesn't have one right now, but they're talking about it. So if you are interested, do make sure you'll get Chris's contact information at the end. Do make sure you send him an email and let him know. Do you help create a network with other similar businesses associated? We can try to help you find folks that are doing similar things. Probably one of the best ones to do that, though, would be SCORE. Yes, these are classes for Stephanie. When you talk about the Launch Wake, those are, you do sign up as a class because these are a long form class. They're 10 weeks. Unlike us that offer only workshops and shorter seminars, the launch program and those entrepreneurship classes are 10-week programs, and they basically run most of the semester. So that's why there is generally a fall iteration of classes and a spring iteration of classes. So then what he's doing is he's creating people who are now participating and get mentoring. We do, when we talk about the financing and taxes are separate, we've done webinars for all the different, there's, as mentioned, the incentives. Those ones are covered in some of the training, so you just have to look for what you're looking for. And yes, Stephanie, the launch programs are free, but they are competitive, and you do have to apply to them. So they're looking for people that are ready to grow a business and then work at the local level with the organizations at the community level that partnered with Wake Tech to do these. So, all right. Mr. Weeks, I've been covering for you. Are you there?
Good evening. You've been covering for me 2 minutes early. That's cool.
Well, I transitioned a little bit.
Schedule?
I just started. I got into it, so I couldn't help myself. But I just mentioned, we just started briefly talking about it. So everyone, here he is, the great Christopher Weeks.
Good evening, everyone. I am Chris Weeks. I'm the Senior Director of Entrepreneurship and the Small Business Center here at Wake Tech, and I am coming to you live from the Business of Music for Entrepreneurs. So we're currently in class, but I want to take a minute to pop in, talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we do outside of what Ty was already telling you about. So the launch program is that collaboration in the municipalities, our relationships with us teaching classes out in the community. We go into the community, we partner with the community, we teach those cohorts, 10 weeks long, typically once a year in each of the communities. From there, um, it really is a great opportunity for you to get uh, a great basic training for entrepreneurship and to do so for free, um, which Todd probably mentioned. Just about everything that we do here is free, which is super cool. The whole point of what we do is uh, get you into our ecosystem. And our ecosystem, I look at it kind of like a monopoly board, right? So we come in and you get started, whether you just have an idea, whether you just have aspirations, whether you just want to take a class, or whether you're actually already in business. We want to kind of lock you in and get you going and support you with the resources and the education necessary. So everything that Todd does with all of the workshops, all of the seminars, the one-on-one counseling, all of that cool stuff is one part of it. The other part of it is these launch programs in each of the municipalities. And on top of that, we also do entrepreneurship for skilled trades and professionals, which are for students that are actually here at Wake Tech. So let's suppose you're an HVAC student, or you're a hairdressing, or not hairdresser, what do they call it now, cosmetology student, or you're in the barbering school or the welding school, whatever you're learning. At some point, there's a chance that you may want to work for yourself. So it would never hurt to come and get entrepreneurship for skilled trades and professionals, because at some point you may want to actually go out and do it for yourself. The average entrepreneur makes 4 times that of the average worker. If you happen to be a person of color or a woman, that number goes up to 12 times. So, but for too many times are you going to want to go and install that HVAC system and get a check for 10,000, and do that 3 times a week, and then at the end of the week get a check for 800 from your boss. At some point, you're going to be like, man, I need to be the boss. And so that's what the whole point of that course is for the student facing aspect. The other thing is that we teach entrepreneurial mindset, and we really want you to think like an entrepreneur. And what the data suggests is that if you think like an entrepreneur, it'll make you a better employee as well. Because I know that when my boss isn't around, I don't act the same. But actually I do, because I have the entrepreneurial spirit. So that's what the whole goal is. Other stuff that we do Wake Tech Contractors Academy. We have one of our team members works for the North Carolina Military Business Consortium, and what they do is they teach folks how to do business with the government, right? So we have the Contractors Academy that focuses on how to do bids, how to get hub certified, all of those things, and that's pretty cool. We just started a new program, a shorter program last month called Proposal Writing for Government Contracts, and she's actually teaching how to actually write proposals and do bids for government contracting. So the next thing that we like to talk about is the Main Street Entrepreneurship, our Main Street Entrepreneur Accelerator Program. And what that is it's a month-long program, actually a 6-week program, where we really focus on putting you through an accelerator and preparing you to be able to pitch your company. Well, it's kind of like Shark Tank, where you kind of go up and you pitch in front of judges. And this past year, we gave $105,000 away. Pretty cool. But the thing is that we don't just teach you how to pitch. We also really lock in and get you to understand the mechanics of your business. And we use a few different instruments to do that. And ironically, right now, my class that I'm in right now, they're actually working on their lean business canvases, which is the primary tool to really give you insight as to how your business is, and it really gives you an opportunity to really dig into your business and be able to tell someone about it pretty quickly. So that happens in April and May. The pitch competition is normally in the first, it's right around graduation, which is normally the first or second week of May. The only way that you can get into the pitch competition or into the accelerator program and compete for the grants, which everyone wants to know where the grants are. Well, we know where the grants are. The grants are at the end of the Main Street Entrepreneurship Accelerator Program. This coming year, we're on deck to give away at least another $100,000. So that's where the grants are. If you watch TikTok and they tell you where the grants are, I don't know whether you should trust them, but if you see me on TikTok talking about grants, it's going to be talking about the Main Street Entrepreneur Accelerator. So that only way to get there is through these programs. You have to come through Launch. You have to come through the Entrepreneurship for Skilled Trades Professionals, or you have to come through the Business of Music. Business of Music is a class that's offered in the fall. It's focused on the music business. And that kind of gives arts-based entrepreneurs an opportunity to look at the business from a business standpoint versus what you normally do in the music business, which is kind of muscle through it the best you can. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, the only way to get into that is through these programs. Now, the Entrepreneurship for Skilled Trades and Professionals is actually open to not only Wake Tech students, but it's also opened up, it's open to St. Augustine's University and Shaw University students. And actually, there's the competition between those students. And the way that works is the students that win at the accelerator, whoever wins, they end up being the champion school for that year. And actually, for that following semester or that following year, I actually teach on that campus. So last year, I taught on Shaw's campus. And then this year, we won, Wake Tech won. So I get to teach the class on Wake Tech campus this coming next semester. Next slide, please. So Contractors Academy, we've already talked about, is designed specifically for small minority and women-owned businesses. It focuses on pursuing contract opportunities, and it also tells you how to get certified as a historically underutilized or a minority or women-owned business, both at the school level to do business with Wake Tech, the local level to get certified by the city, the state level, to be hub certified by the state, or to be identified as a minority or a woman-owned business or veteran-owned business or differently abled-owned business with the federal government. Next slide, please. We are here to help. Entrepreneurial and Small Business Center, 3434. Oh, that's where I'm at right now. This is how you get at us. If you need us, there are email addresses except for where it says Entrepreneurship Initiatives, C-Weeks, the number 3. It should be C-Weeks, the number 2. C-Weeks, the number 3 is my daughter, Chloe. And Chloe is actually at Howard University now. So she's getting emails about stuff she probably won't tell me because she's a Gen Z kid and she doesn't even use her email. So C-Weeks, the number 2 at waketech.edu if you need me. Next slide. We help people start and grow businesses. What else do you need from me, Todd?
Let me unmute myself. Let's give him a chance. If there are any other questions for Chris related to the launch programs. I'm guessing RT, if this minimum experience required, what's the minimum requirement, Chris?
The minimum requirement is Actually, it's at the municipalities for launch actually do go through the selection process. So the criteria is that you have to either have a going concern, meaning you're in business, or you have to have an identified business idea. So you can't show up and be like, yeah, I was thinking about maybe doing business at some point. You have to at least have a minimum idea. The other parameters are it really is identified for underserved businesses. So if you are currently in business, you really shouldn't be doing any more than 30,000 in revenue for your business. And then your home income shouldn't be above 60,000, I think is the cap. But again, that's at the discretion. That's the overarching criteria, but ultimately it's at the discretion of each of the municipalities. Any other questions? I'm going to take that as a no. And I thank you all for giving me an opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do here. And I'm going to turn it back over to Todd. Todd, thank you. And I will see everybody soon. Y'all be well.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Take care.
As you can tell, we're pretty busy. We have programming and classes all the time. We do even do stuff on the weekends. We do stuff after hours. Brianna put together a team to help with an online business. One of the things we recommend to think about is some of the co-working spaces, especially around the RTP area and Raleigh Founded, for example, have a lot of folks that are working in that space. So even if you become a member and only use it periodically, that's a lot of exposure to people who are doing the type of work you're probably interested in. But that's also the type of thing you can find even at Wake Tech. There's the curriculum classes have a lot of folks that are in that space now learning. So, for example, one of the things Chris didn't mention is that we work with the graphic design department in the curriculum area to connect students who are getting their graphic design associates to help some of the people in our programs. Find out if a business idea is approved for a certain area. It, I guess it just depends. I mean, most of them are just only going to reject things that are probably illegal. I haven't heard of any that are rejected just for different things. So, but I mean, for the most part, and that works for us too. I mean, we do have to do things. I've got plenty of clients who want to talk about how do they evade paying taxes, and we don't tend to work with those folks. So, you do need to make sure, and that is one of the reasons why we do want to make sure that if you are working in a certain area, that you know what the requirements are, because some are very helpful. In fact, I've found every single town in Wake County has some sort of economic development tool or arm of the town that's there to help you work on your business no matter what it is. Now, ideally, in most cases, a town is only going to work with you if it's something that's going to be in the town. So they definitely prefer something that's preferably brick and mortar or something that would lend itself to staying there. I had a client many years ago who kept pushing a town that we were in to give him money for a food truck, and they weren't particularly interested in helping fund a food truck because a food truck is going to go out of town, right? So, so those types of things, and or as Brianna's asking, a specifically only online business, unless it was something that you were building or doing things within the town or the area, so that there was definitely a reason for them to be really interested in helping you. It's just like you see probably seen larger scale programs like Apple, Facebook, Google have all entered North Carolina at different areas and gotten huge state level grants for jobs, but that's because they were bringing a lot of money and a lot of investment in terms of the buildings and the jobs that they were creating. But even at that, you've seen how some of those have kind of fallen apart because they weren't creating all the jobs, they weren't putting all the investment that they had to meet in order to receive the funding that they were looking for. Um, so that's why you want to make sure that what you're doing is something that is wanted. And quite honestly, it may not be something you want to do, as we were talking earlier. It may be something you want to do outside of the area. I've got clients that we are helping them do things outside of the area, but they're headquartered in Wake County. So, but we do work, and we do work with a lot of other, as we've talked about, many others. Um, Stephanie, you live in Franklin. I feel terrible for you. You just missed the fact that my counterpart in Franklin County just got a bunch of grants. And if you talk to Vance Granville, she was giving away money. And again, there's no launch alumni. There's no class for that. It's just, we were talking about the fact that there's so many. You just need to try to do one of the programs and try to start in the area. Brianna, there's a lot, if you go onto those marketing seminars and webinars, you'll see there's a lot of social media. And in fact, the one we're doing next month on marketing plan would probably be an excellent one to start with, just in general, to talk about how social media would work with your overall marketing. So there's a lot of options for that in terms of the education. If you go to Vance Granville Community College, SBC. So again, I mentioned we're in all the community colleges throughout the area. So I know Vance Granville covers 4 counties. And unfortunately, I think she just gave away all that money because she had to give it away really quick. So, but that's why you want to pay attention to what's going on in your locality. And I think they do offer, you probably want to check and see, especially if you're looking at starting there, what types of programming she would have available in your neck of the woods. Carolyn Perry. And again, if you just go to our main website, you can look up Vance Granville at the ncsbc.net. All right. Any other big program questions? Hopefully, if you're thinking of starting a business, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're thinking of doing. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. Was there anything else we needed to do, Michael, or are we good?
We're good. I'm gonna go ahead and stop. And
All
you guys
right.
can ask your real questions.
Real questions.